Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, I interview successful business leaders and industry experts to help you grow your business. In this episode, my guest is Allan Schlar from Commershphere. Allan is an expert in events management. He's been helping out businesses during the COVID when all in-person events were shut down. And now people working in a hybrid environment. Some people are in the office, some people working from home. So managing events, trade shows has been a challenge for a lot of business leaders. Now, we had an interesting discussion around the various different topics around the events management. I think you will really enjoy my discussion with him when he talks about how to provide a similar experience, whether people working from home or they're joining in person. And also how to get a return on your investments when you're organizing events or conferences for your staff. If you like this discussion, don't forget to send me your feedback and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, please welcome Allan Schlar. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today my guest is Allan Schlar. Allan, welcome to our podcast. Thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you very much, Gurmeet. I'm looking forward to the discussion. It speaks to some of my passions, which is digital innovation, disruption. I love it all.
Yeah, no, it's a lot has changed over the last few years, Allan. As the events where you help a lot of business leaders, where you do a lot of work, events were almost disappeared, I think, for a couple of years, right? So where do you see some of the biggest changes if they're coming back, or where you see some of the biggest impact on a business when you come to events and all the workshops and all this stuff?
Well, I mean, if you look at it from this perspective, sort of pre-pandemic, everybody was kind of into face-to-face events for the most part. The pioneers were experimenting with virtual because obviously it extends the reach and shelf life. So the event isn't over when it's over.
Yeah. So, but, we were so dependent on these events and, we were doing for whether it's a networking events or whether it's a workshop or just a trade shows, we were so dependent on it. And all of a sudden it just got shut down.
Well, I think the smart companies, what they did was they did a shift to virtual. There were a number of companies, no question, that just said, okay, we're shut down for a year. And as you know, when you shut off marketing and sales for any period of time, it's very difficult to ramp back up. So the smart ones got into doing virtual events and got the learnings from it. Now, if we sort of shift to post-pandemic, it's kind of interesting. It's one of the myths. Everybody then who either had done virtual or had taken a hiatus, they took a vacation while the world had changed, said, great, we're back to face to face. Everybody is waiting for it. We as an organizer are waiting for it, and our attendees, whether it's B2B or B2C, they're all waiting for it. Reality is they weren't. As a new channel opens up, and I sort of tend to look at events as a new channel, a new option for clients to deal with companies, a new channel for companies to get their branding out, things change. It's not an either or.
Nice.
It's another option.
Got you. So how's that other option working out? I know some people work in a hybrid environment, some working from home, some working from office. How is this other option working out? And if you can walk us through, what is this other option, Allan?
Well, it's working out very well. It's an option. Well, I'll explain to you how Commershphere and most other event platforms work. But the other option is working out very well because you hit the nail on the head. The fact of the matter is remote working is not going away. Over those 2 years, people have discovered that they can cut down on travel time. Companies can reduce their budgets by meeting virtually and so on. So it's a whole different sort of paradigm. But again, I'll emphasize it's not an either or. And we'll talk a little bit later about some of the changes that we've made to kind of really transform hybrid events into something that wasn't there before, to take advantage of sort of a part shift back to virtual, hardship back rather to face to face. So, when at Commershphere, the way we work is our events are either face to face only, virtual only, a hybrid, or a community. Our whole objective is to create experiences. I'm sort of moving away a bit from the term events to sort of we create experiences for clients. And it fits one of those sort of 4 categories or buckets, if you will.
I see. Can you create that similar kind of experience people had at that, previously, events with this multi-channel approach? Can you, how do you create the similar experience? Because people interacted differently, I guess, when they were in person or when they interacted online, I guess, right?
Exactly. So we've learned over the course of a number of years that people will likely not sit through days and even a day of Zoom meetings or GoTo meetings or Google meetings. It's just too much to ask. So the way that we've adapted is personalization, and I'll talk a little bit more about personalization. It's getting to know the needs of an individual attendee or a group of attendees. And so we created tracks whereby the track responds to a sort of a group segment, people that have common interests, and they only need to attend that portion that interests them. They don't need to sit through the whole thing. And of course, if there's a secondary, so they'll attend the primary interest. And if there's a secondary interest, they can always view it on demand. So that's one of the ways. I mean, it's a myth that it isn't reality to expect people to sit through. People are going to come in and out, and the in and out. It's up to people like us, our firm, to help our clients engage people at the right time with the what and how, and different engagement tools will keep people with. I mean, for example, you mentioned network. I think you mentioned networking. Oh, we've got networking baked into the platform, and so 365 days, 24/7, people who have opened an account can and registered for an event can interact with others. And actually, in fact, during the actual event, it's by video chat. So it's it's kind of as real as it can be without being there.
So it looks like
networking is one way.
So it looks like it's more about delivering what people are expecting. It's more about engaging people. It's more about during the events, after the events, following up with the people and make sure that they get the experience what they're looking for.
You hit a very good point, and I'll just comment on it. If we look at the life cycle of an event, it's really made up of 3 stages: pre-event, during event or at event, and then post. And you're right. There are certain activities that need to happen before, there's certain activities happen during, and there's an expectation that certain activities will happen after. So I think you can reach a much broader audience. Imagine driving to an event, say in Barrie, in the middle of winter to downtown Toronto. Not necessary. So you get beyond the issue of geography. We're doing events for a global audience.
So during this time, Allan, did people's expectation, people who were attending the events, did their expectation change as well a little bit? They're expecting communication different ways. They're expecting information different way, or even they go attend in a person, they're expecting different kind of approach. Did they change it? Did this what we just gone through for the last couple of years change their expectations from events?
Well, I think expectations are always increasing. And from my years of experience in business, what I noticed is often the consumer, let's call it the consumer, in this case, it could be an attendee at an event, could get ahead of firms, and that's a very dangerous place to be in. So, for example, in our case, we're continually developing new features, new functions, new approaches that respond to needs in our lab, and we're implementing them. The bar is always being raised. At the beginning, if you go back about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when we discovered this technology in Europe, which was basically, it basically was focused on the biomed and tech. And when I got involved, the idea was to increase the, it's like a mixologist, increasing the mix so that we can appeal to a broader range of verticals, and really ramping up the marketing and communication so that it would, engage more people, and people would, people would start to gravitate to it because it's sticky, it's convenient. People are time starved. If they're going to have any extra time, they probably want to spend it with their family or on a hobby. Let's be honest about it. And I think the sort of pandemic period, people discovered that there's a lot of other things they could be doing if they could only carve out some extra time. And remote work made that possible.
Definitely. When you work remotely, you have a little bit more time available. You can use it the way you want to. So business leaders who are watching and listening to us, I know they're trying to scale up their businesses. They're trying to get back to the revenue levels where they need to. Where does this events or experience, what you call it, fits into their business strategy or marketing strategy? Is it still the same way, or do they have to look at this a little bit differently?
Well, I think, the fundamentals of business remain the same. Smart decisions are smart decisions. What I would say is you have to plan. It's a little bit different because you've got to plan. There are more, let's say there are more ingredients to this recipe of success in a virtual world or the hybrid and virtual. And what we found is sometimes companies are already invested in many different types of channels. They've got a marketing calendar which they go through, and it's our job to get them to put events down like ours on their calendar and think of it in the same way as they think of the rest of the business. So in other words, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Our most successful events are where organizers allow enough time for sponsors, exhibitors, and themselves, and also where they do the very detailed planning that you would for any other strategy. So it's fail to plan, plan to fail. It's just good. You extend the good practices that made your business successful, but into a different dynamic.
And the other part of that is a great point. I guess planning is one of the key elements in any events. But how about the marketing that event before that happens, right? I think a lot of people probably shy away a little bit from that, not expecting as much energy required to market that event before the event happened, instead of just taking it easy and just trying to do a last few weeks instead of doing it for months before the events happen.
Exactly. I'm glad you raised that point, because one of the other things we noticed is we've put together and implemented events in as little as 2 months. A reality check, you really need about 6 months to properly plan. Especially if you've got a leaner team, as many companies do these days. You've got to get sponsors, you've got to get speakers, you've got to do some marketing to get attendees. There's a lot of considerations, and if you put it all together, 2 months is kind of the bare minimum. So I'd suggest more, somewhere between 2 months and 6 months is kind of ideal. We're already looking at 3 or 4 events for the fall, and working with our clients to plan them out.
Yeah, more time you invest in planning and marketing, I mean, better success you're gonna have. You can bring more people to it, spread some more awareness. It takes a lot of time and dedication, as you mentioned.
And continually communicating with your clients and the attendees. There's one
Mhm.
event that we're working on right now. It's not been done in the way we're doing it, and so we're going out to the prospective attendees and the organizers. We've got 2 surveys, and we're asking them various questions that will help guide and make it better. So again, there's certain things that we need to do in order to maximize the potential of the platform for clients. And it's the same thing, life cycle, pre, at, and post.
Yeah, yeah. Anything change on the terms of for speakers or presenters or sponsors, Alan? Are they approaching these events a little differently than before, or they're doing it's just a similar approach that they were doing before?
Well, the pioneering days are over. So clearly those that are successful in the space have sort of wrapped their arms around these events. They're participating in more of them, which is kind of a conundrum because sometimes you see the same speaker at a number of different events. So you start to think in your mind, am I going to does that cannibalize my attendance if I do it later?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because the world is changing so quickly that there's always something new for people for attendees to hear about. But from the point of view of the sponsors and exhibitors, it's really about a different way of getting our brand out there and getting our story out there. A lot of it is still about content. You've got to have content to be engaging. This isn't a one-trick pony. Obviously, when we spoke about the time to market, with a webinar, it's somewhat less. But again, the way we look at webinars is don't just do a webinar and then it's over. You've got to wrap content and more of an experience around the webinar. You've got to engage people 365. You can't just come in and it's over and now what do? I go back to my office and I do the same thing I did before. That's the old days of events. The new reality is there's something, we even launched something, we call it Let's Talk. And so what that is the people, the companies that participate with us can have an event in an expo hall. And at that event, they can have their salespeople who you can meet with. They can put resources, PDFs, videos, and what have you. But the new feature that we introduced probably in the last year is Let's Talk. In other words, that sponsor can invite people to a Zoom meeting at their own booth. Nice. Or if they want, they can invite selected people, anything from one-on-one to public groups to private groups. All you need is the Zoom password and it's private. It could be a week ahead. It could be the week ahead. It could be a new product introduction. So it gives that company the opportunity to dialogue and be out in front of whoever they want to at any point in time.
Very interesting. So how about the presenter part of it? Is it still going? So do you find on an event they're presenting virtually or is other way around, virtual events they're presenting in a person? So did that change a little bit that, speaker cannot be there, he's going to present virtually on an event or other way around, speakers here, but we also going to telecast that virtually as well. So we can combine those two.
I've got to clap. You've got great questions.
Thank you.
What happens in reality is, let's say somebody's in Germany, this is a real experience we had in one of our events, and they can't come over. They have 2 options. We have live streaming, or it can be recorded and presented on demand. And, there's many different flavors. The person can join, it could be recorded on demand. Sometimes if it's a panel, maybe one of the people aren't available. You could, and then they could join later and have live questions.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings to mind another interesting thing that we're seeing, which is it's not a one size fits all. We offer a range of possibilities from the platform is designed to be self-serve. However, we offer everything right through to fully managed. And in between, I'll call it bespoke. So we're finding that there isn't an event that we do that doesn't have some element of customization in it.
Gotcha.
It's always, oh, Allan, when we bring in our technology team, can we do this? Can we, we've got a very smart chief technology officer, and he's able to, just really very quickly in most cases implement something that clients wants. So some will use it right off, right straight, custom off the shelf, because there's an element of customization built in. The backgrounds you can pick, generally in different pages, you can pick from 6 or 7 different types of backgrounds, as you see here. Whether it's the conference page, which could look like a theater or an expo hall, but many clients say they'd like to go beyond that, and we've got a team, and we're prepared to. The ideal client is they want to work with us long term. We understand their business. They like they like our capability and the way we do business. Friendly and so on. And so we will work with them to take their online business model as virtual experience, and over time we'll create, if we can't do it immediately, we'll work with them to create that total experience that does everything on their wish list. Why we can do that, after one of the ingredients in our secret sauce, we own all of the code. We own, so we don't have to license or rent anything from anybody. So we can dictate the development agenda. We can dictate what and for whom gets done when. So it's a different game, and not all players that are out there offer that capability. Many will rent and resell. That's not our business model. We built it up, now it's sell and do whatever further development is necessary for clients to be successful.
Very interesting. How about during the events, the sales happen during the event, or transactions happen during the events? Like if somebody wants to run a campaign and they want to run a promotion and people want to buy it, you guys handle that as well, or where does that fall, or that goes back to the event?
No, it's a great question. There's a number of different things that can happen. There's a ticker, which is really a news wire, which also can click to a campaign or different news-related events that are happening during the event.
Okay.
The other ways is so they can do that, and also there's a whole bunch of alerts and communication that's built in that can be sent out. We collect preferences up front based on what the client needs. And for example, we've got a carousel. So after midnight every day, the carousel, let's say you define your interests as, well, I'll use a different example. I'll use music. So you say, I'm interested in jazz.
Yeah.
I'm interested in saxophone. So every night after 12, if any of the exhibitors have posted something new, you'll get a digest, because we don't want 6 or 7 or 8 or however many. Sometimes we got 20 exhibitors or more. You don't want to get 20 emails. You want to get a digest that summarizes what's new for you. So there's various ways to reach the attendee. And interestingly, one of the interesting features we have for companies that support charities, we've got an online silent auction facility built in, so they can actually do fundraising. which brings up the whole issue of monetization. The way we also like to work with clients is we like to try to make the event self-funding or get them into revenue positive territory. They can have clickable banner ads on various pages throughout. And again, depending how we structure the sponsorships, they could get one or more of these banner ads, which will go directly. That's probably the most direct way to get to a campaign.
Yeah, you want to definitely make the events to be more profitable even before that. I've seen some companies, they will make events profitable even before the event starts, let alone afterwards. Before they start, they will sell enough their merch, stuff to make that events, profitable.
Exactly.
So do you do a lot of nonprofit as well, events as well, Allan? You mentioned
We've
that
done some, yeah,
Mhm.
we've done some. I'll sort of call that bucket sort of the not-for-profit or the events where there is no admission, where there isn't an immediate source of revenue. For the not-for-profits, we'll generally provide a 15% discount.
I see.
So
Interesting.
that, it's just fair, or we'll make a contribution that equals the 15% to the charity, whatever they prefer. So we've got some special considerations. So while we have a notional sort of pricing card, which is based on size of the event, how long do you want it up, and so on. The idea is we like to understand what your requirements are, which is another place people get into trouble, as they do in the non-virtual world. If you don't spell out your requirements, you're not going to get what you need built, and you're into change management.
Yeah.
So we try and make sure that the clients are very specific as to what they need in terms of requirements, so we don't get into this. But can we also add on this? We can, but.
On my previous life, Allan, I used to attend a lot of Microsoft or IBM events quite a bit. And one thing I noticed with these events was always there was underlying theme to it. Every single event they did, they were big on picking a theme every year, different theme for all the events. Storyline was different. Every year they picked a different storyline to it, and they deliver on that theme with that storyline. Even after the event, I noticed sometimes if I don't remember a lot of items on an event, what happened, because there's so much stuff happens on an event during the event. What I remember, what stuck with me was a storyline and a theme. Those two items, I could almost name it after a couple of years. Last year it was about collaboration. This year it was about security. Now last year it was about productivity. So I remember those events. Is that still a big part of no matter which platform you go, however you put those events, is a storyline and a theme and the whole agenda mix still the same way formatted, or is that different, change a little bit different as well?
You described it well. It changes year by year because business changes year by year. So while, for example, one client, we do a lot in the exchange traded fund space.
Okay.
We do a lot in financial. So it could be environmental, an environmental theme one year. So yes. And in fact, in the event itself, you not only have that sort of umbrella theme, but you have subcategories under each that are very specific and can change. Again, it makes it easy for people to find what they're looking for. Again, back to the concept of tracks. So you'll have a track that may be on ESG, and so on, and I can just choose to attend those and look at those. But the theme is every event has a theme overall, and under the theme there are buckets which are really subcategories. And the resources we have like a library in each. It looks like a library in the background, and people can basically search by they search by topic or theme. So if and then they search by media. So do I want to look at a video? Do I want to look at a PDF? And so on. So
I see.
Content, themed content plays a big part.
Got you. So where is some of the biggest challenges when you're putting up an event, Allan? Where you see people fail, or what are some of the obstacles they have to get through in order to do events? Where do you see some of the biggest mistakes made by business leaders when they're trying to, put up an event?
It's well, I think I started to talk about it before. You've got to consider that it's a channel, and you have to operate it in the same way as you would any other channel. So when it comes to looking at having a publishing meeting in terms of what will be published that month and marketing his meeting, there needs to be a line for events and the specific things, so that whether you're taking things that are done in other areas, or you're creating something new, you treat it as seriously as you would any other component of your business. And some people make the mistake, that it's sort of an add-on. It's let's call it this way. It's another thing to my already busy life.
Yeah.
Why are you giving this to me? Why did you, so they've got to be clear that it's an investment by the firm, and whoever's responsible, whether it's content or getting speakers or dealing with the registrations and attendance, it's that important. The other, I mentioned registration. The other point I wanted to mention was you've got to keep the KISS concept, keep it simple. I'm going to use registration as a good example. One of the things that we've introduced recently in Commershphere is a single-click registration. If you think about passwords, that's almost the first. So I've seen the event, I know what you're doing, I like it, I'm going to register. The last thing you want is for people to stumble. Gee, I didn't remember my password. What is it? Okay, you know what, I'll do it later. So we introduced this concept of single click, and what it does, it's secure. It's secure by device.
I see.
We right now we're offering both. So we're offering the traditional secure password approach, but we're also offering the single click. It saves you remembering the password. If you go on a new device, depending if you've been to a Commershphere event before, it'll either let you go right through, or it'll send a confirmation link to you so that secure that additional device.
Interesting. So it looks like technology can advances quite a bit in events as well. So where you see those challenges from AI, or whether ChatGPT or Metaverse, all those advancement in technology, how does that impact events or the user experience you guys putting up?
Great question. I think the most immediate impact to me, in my opinion, is in AI, specifically in terms of taking a data-driven approach to what you do. Because if you take a data-driven, and AI can help immensely in that. Taking a data-driven approach, you can be much more specific from the point of view of personalization. Personalization is very important here, whether it's being able to personalize what I'm going to attend, whether it's being able to personalize my agenda, whether, all those aspects are my preferences as to what I get post-event. All of that's important. I think AI can tremendously make that much easier. As far as so that's important. As far as ChatGPT, I have attended a number of courses on how you use it and so on. And on the side, you listen to the regulation that is being thought about, because it can go too far. And there have been some places where there's been some stumbling, and you end up with the wrong result. But if you look at the good part of it, you can see, whether it's with the metaverse, AI, or ChatGPT in particular, I've seen advertising campaigns created totally without very high-priced models that you traditionally see. So if you think in the virtual world, well, unless people relate to a person and they want to emulate that person, when we're talking about fashion, you know, it's possible to completely eliminate or mostly eliminate high-priced models from the fashion equation. I saw some very good examples of how campaigns were created without real models.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not any less realistic than what's created today. So I think there's tremendous potential. And I think hopefully, hopefully it's going to evolve and the regulation is going to be sensible as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to being yet another example of an overregulated business.
Yeah.
So that people can take advantage of the good part, the positive of Chat GPI,
Mm-hmm.
GPT rather. You know, I'm trying to think. There were other. I mean, you know, if you look at different things that are going on, and there's this debate about displacing labor or not and displacing jobs. If you look in Japan, there's very good examples of nurses being robots. And why? What problem does that solve? If you look at Toronto or anywhere, US, and nurses are reluctant to lift patients
Mm-hmm.
because they could injure their back.
Yeah.
Well, with a robot, well, there you go. So I think what amazes me is when I sit back and look at all of this, and I think about what we're doing at Commershphere with all these events and so on, and what's happening with all these new technologies, I see them being introduced at a faster pace than before. And the difference that I see now is when the internet first came along, it was interesting. I remember going to my boss at the time, and I was in the wealth management business. And the thing was, oh yeah, I think my uncle's on the internet. It was sort of like, you know, we're in a face-to-face business. That's wealth management, but it doesn't have to be either or. And years later, the same person came back to me and said, we should have listened to you even more. But I surrounded myself with like-minded people on the retail side of the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think people are going to make the same mistakes. The world has changed. You can't place multiple bets that are all going to fail. But I think what I'm seeing is, especially among larger companies, they're investing, they're placing bets because the opportunity to catch up later is not going to exist.
Yeah.
Waiting for somebody to make their mistake and hoping that you're going to save money, to me, that's a foolish strategy.
Yeah. There's definitely both sides to it, Allan. And one of the greatest application of new technologies I saw was, there's a farmer in India, never been to school. He's farming. He got a utility bill that he got to pay on his phone. All he's saying that is I don't understand this in his own language. And the bill was published to him in English that AI translates that into his language. And all he has to say that, take it from a bank and pay it, and the bill's paid in by two minutes. So, that kind of service you can't do without technology advancements. And a bill was translated from a different language to different language. And with this voice command, transaction was completed from his bank, withdraw and paid for the bill. I mean, you can't have that kind of speed to transaction without having this kind of invention in technology.
I just wanted to pick up on a point that you mentioned. You must be reading my mind. So let's say that we agree that English is primarily the business language of the world,
Mm-hmm.
at least the primary. So the other day I was thinking about it, and I was thinking to myself, and I was saying, it's sort of almost now like, do you speak Chat GPT?
Yeah.
It's sort of like almost, okay, well, that's the other language of business because you can do things so much faster and smarter.
Yeah. And it's very accurate. Conversion is very accurate, no matter what language you go across, it's not just simply language conversion. It has a lot of intelligence behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
I think we're living in a fascinating world.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you this story. When I first started working, I'm not going to date myself, but we had we had these calculators that were probably about 4 inches high. It had tubes with orange colored numbers in it. And it was kind of on this little mini network. And every so often, the senior vice president of finance would come out and he'd say, "Can you go reset the Wang?" So again, 2 points here. Look at what we're talking about today. And yet when I started working, it was like these cathode ray tubes with numbers in it and so on.
Mm-hmm.
The other point is that I wanted to make, besides look how far we've come, is it's just incredible. Incredible is the only way to describe. People, we're on a continuous learning journey. So, and that's what excites me.
So let's talk about your journey. How did you get involved into events? Your background's with the financial sector, wealth management. So how did you get involved into events, and what excites you to get into this?
Well, let's put it this way: it all fits under the digital umbrella. And I realized back when the internet first came in that it was sticky. We needed to understand it, and no matter what part of our business, there was a different way it would be applied. And so I mentioned to you and your audience that I started to surround myself with like-minded people, which were in the retail bank, understandably, because it's more of a transactional business.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sort of grew from there. I stayed with the digital, for the rest of my career. And probably about 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago now, a former business colleague that I worked with at the bank approached me and he said, "Hey, here's what I'm doing. What are you up to?" And I said, "Well, I'm kind of in between things." He said, "Take a look at this." I looked at it and I said, "Okay." And this is before pre-pandemic. I said, "This is very interesting." And I got involved and I've stayed involved. And, like I said, my job at the time was to take this incredible platform and to expand it across different verticals. And by the way, just because I spent so much time, so much of my career in financial, the thinking is portable. So we've done work for medicinal marijuana. We've done dance teacher schools from Las Vegas. We've done we've touched probably every major mutual fund manufacturer, distributor, and bank in Canada. And now we're into the US there. It's interesting. I mean, the concept is just, it's the right mix of marketing, sales, and technology. Nice. My life is really at the intersection of technology and disruption, of innovation. And this speaks to all of that. So that's kind of how I sort of got into events. But I've always been, I call myself a digitarazzi as opposed to paparazzi. I sort of extended that terminology. So I'm a digitarazzi. I love everything digital, and I've built the later part, or a good part of my career on that.
No, I definitely do have there's a lot of to draw from your wisdom, your experience. You've been doing it for a long time, so there's so much to learn from you, especially business leaders when they're trying to build business strategies. We have so many blind spots. We're not expert on everything. That's where we need somebody like you, expert in an area, so you can cover a lot of blind spot when we are doing event planning or trying to build a business strategy and have a successful events. Instead of we trying to learn from mistakes, we need people like you around us. Definitely avoid a lot of mistakes that we're gonna make during our journey. So there's so much to learn. I learned so much from our discussion, Allan. There's so much to draw from your experiences. So how can business leader connect with you? How can how do you help them out, Allan?
Well, the best way is either by email. It's ASCHLAR at Commershphere, Commersph.
I will include a link below the video as well.
Yeah, what
put
I'll
a
do
video.
is, in fact, easier than that, or just give me a call. I'm accessible, and we can bounce around some ideas. And my goal is I'm going to try and help business and talk to business until it doesn't make sense to talk anymore, and then we'll move on. Because I'm a salesperson, but I value people's precious time, including my own. So when I'm approached with something, hey, you want to buy this? Do you want to look at this? I'm either interested, I'm not interested, and I don't want your wine and your lunches and all of that stuff. If it makes sense, let's talk. So I'll send you a slide that has my my email contact and my phone, and if you can embed it into the
no, I'm going to include a link.
That'll be terrific.
Yeah, no, I'm going to include also a link to your website as well. People can go check out your website, and also a link to your LinkedIn profile. So
definitely. What I'll do is I may send you a deck that I use to present. Sure. Because most of our business isn't driven off the website. In fact, there's parts of it I don't like, but it's just we sell by referral because of our first client of 5 years ago, we're still doing business with them.
Gotcha.
And so I use my approach is, let me show you what we've done for other clients. Gotcha. And then once that's done, I'm happy to send the deck, which kind of gives them a snapshot of what they've seen, as opposed to sending them a deck and saying, can you send me something? Where that ends up. It ends up in the mailbox unopened.
You got it.
I've got a different way of doing business. And if people aren't prepared to invest an hour to see what it is that we do for other clients, I'm probably never going to sell them anything anyway.
Yeah. No, I will include your contact information below the video, and I will recommend business leaders, if you are looking to do events, if you are in that space, reach out to for a conversation. If there's nothing else, they will learn tons from your experiences and from your wisdom. So maybe events get better. So, but I will definitely, I learned so much from you. I'm recommending everybody who are listening, who are watching, reach out to you, have a quick conversation. Who knows where that can take us, in a business world.
Exactly. I appreciate it. I enjoyed the conversation. When I get passionate, I tend to, it's dramatic, but I just love the stuff and it works.
It was a great discussion.
Not all platforms are the same.
Yeah, definitely.
I would suggest to business leaders that if they're thinking of investigate what it is, how long will my presentation, how long will my content be up? Can I edit it? You'd be surprised at the things that you can't do. Mm-hmm. I don't want to keep sort of in this sales role. Conversation is great.
Yeah, no, definitely good conversation, and definitely, hey, hopefully I'll see you one of those events. As soon as I started going out and some of those events in the Toronto area, if I go to event, hopefully I'll see you one of these events, Allan.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Likewise, enjoyed it.